How's it going, guys? Hi. I don't even know what to make of any of this at this point. Like I said in one of my videos a few months ago, and this is one of the videos that was removed by the wonderful people of YouTube, that people don't really seem to understand that everything begins and ends with Israel. People ask, like, the world doesn't revolve around Israel. Actually, yes, it does. It revolves around the tiny nation called the Jews. It revolves around the actions and the machinations of Israel. It revolves around all that. 3 days ago, the citizens of Israel, many citizens, came to the home of the Prime Minister to protest. That's all they came there to do. They didn't come there to infiltrate his house. They didn't come there to hurt anybody, to cause any violence. They just came there to protest. And basically what happened was that the police were sent out there by the Israeli government, police on horses, and those police, were instructed to beat people with like rods. This is what they were instructed to do, and this is exactly what they did. They did something akin to what they did to the residents of certain towns in Judea and Samaria during, evacuations. That's what they did. And you could see the footage, and you could really see that there is actually Dafka and I hate to say this, guys. I mean, guys, listen, I'm all about Aliyah and people living in Israel and loving the land of Israel and all these kind of things, but most people who know me, who know when I talk about Aliyah and Israel and all these kind of things, know that I give everybody. I never sugarcoat stuff. I'm not here to work for Nefesh B'Nefesh. I'm not here to work for Jewish Agency. I'm not here to give you only the shiny, happy. It's called what I call the shiny, happy people. The rainbows and butterflies. Images of Israel. I'm not here to only give you that. I'm here to give you that, but I'm also here to give you what's something called, and maybe it's the Russian in me. I'm too much of a realist. Too much of a realist, but it's something called reality. Here's reality in Israel. I'm not going to give you fantasy. I'm going to give you reality. As much as there are a lot of things, there are a lot of like. There's a way one can live in Israel, and I'm actually one of these people who can live in Israel based on emunah and siyata d'shmaya and like God's hand every day, whatever it is. It's almost like a miracle, really. It's almost like a fantasy, really. At the end of the day, guys, I'm going to be the first one to give you the reality of what's going on in Israel. That was the original point of this page, of this website, and it will always remain the point. So the reality is that the government is an Erev Rav government. The government doesn't like people who, first of all, ultimately worship Hashem in the purest way. The government doesn't like, and you may say, well, what are you talking about? You have freedom of religion and all this kind of stuff. I'm not talking about freedom of religion. I'm talking about the government doesn't like people. The Israeli government doesn't like people who worship Hashem over them. Just like the the Leninist government, the people who ruled communist Russia didn't like that people worshipped Hashem, worshipped any kind of deity over them. The Israeli government doesn't like that, my friends. It does not. Even with the prime minister, a guy who wears a kippah, it doesn't like that. They are the gods, the demigods, okay? There's no... Hashem is like a secondary thing, okay? And this is how they run the country, and this is how they run society, and this is how they think, and this is how they make decisions. This is how the Israeli government makes decisions. So, guys, the reality is that there actually is a police brutality problem in Israel, believe it or not. And actually, guys, most people think, and publications like Haaretz would have you believe that it's a racism fueled problem, against let's say, I don't know, Ethiopians or Sudanese or Eritreans. No, it's got nothing to do with racism, guys. That's maybe like some of the instances you'll see, but most of it has to do with just, when people go against the government, these people spring into action, this entity, primarily the police. A lot of it has to do with the fact that these guys don't get paid a lot, and a lot of it has to do with the fact of cultural, meaning the people who are actually become policemen. I'm not going to get into that, okay? A lot of it has to do with, just like government directives. And there's a police brutality problem in Israel. Guys, listen, again, I'm not here to rain on parades and talk about all the problems in Israel and be like, one of the spies who talked about all the problems and the giants and the this and where the crickets. No, I'm not here to do that. Trust me, I'm not here to do that. I'm here to tell you, if you want to make Aliyah, go make Aliyah. I would say for the right reasons. Don't do it because you're escaping. Go make Aliyah for the right reasons. Make Aliyah because you want to be in the land and you want to connect to Hashem. If you're not here to be in the land and connect to Hashem, if you're just, pardon my language, dick around and smell Aviv and just dick around, my friends, honestly, stay where you are. We don't need you to come and turn Israel into another Miami or New York or whatever it is. We need you to come and help us turn Israel into Israel. And you would say, well, what do you mean? Israel means different things to different people. No. I'm sorry. Israel's Israel. Israel's meant to be Israel. It's meant to be a holy country. No, it's not meant to be Iran. It's not meant to be theocracy. It's meant to be a holy country. It's meant to be a country of people connected to Hashem. Not people who are spitting in Hashem's face all the time. And I'm not talking about you should go and be Haredi. I'm just saying in general, you look at these people who are Haredi and wear kippahs in the Knesset. Do they look like they're connected to Hashem? Are they behaving as if they're connected to Hashem? Are they running the country as if they're connected to Hashem? We have this now new variant, Shmomiron. It has killed less people than Hillary Clinton, guys. And they're going nuts, or they're basically going nuts deliberately. They're using this as a pretense to this one guy who I was in contact with. Oh my God, I'm done with him. Schmidian's Schmar. Guys, and you know this publicly, that I was touting him, that I was this, I was that. Rabbi Kessin was touting him. He can go fly a giant kite to the moon at this point, as far as I'm concerned. He's trying to go have the government pay people who have children 1,000 shekels per family to go, or per kid, to go schmaccinate your kid, 5 to 11-year-olds. Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your flipping mind? Oh my God. Guys, this is, again, I'm saying this again. I never thought, honestly, when I first became Torah observant, I used to read these passages about, back in the day, 2,000 years ago, whenever it was, 3,000 years ago, how the kings of Israel got people to go and do Avodah Zarah. And I was saying, are people crazy? Are people stupid? How could this be? How could they do that? How could they go this and that and the other? And, how was it that it had such a power over people? And now I'm looking at what's happening today in Israel. First it was the previous king, and now it's this king who's even worse, so to speak, king, who's setting up idols all over Israel, who's basically sacrificing children to Moloch. It's effectively, that's what it is, my friends. They're sacrificing little Jewish children to Moloch. There's absolutely no reason to give this substance to a child. There's absolutely no even a medical reason. There's zero. There's none. There's no reason to give it to a 12 to 15-year-old. There's no reason to give it to a 20-something-year-old. Maybe you're pushing it with 30 and 40. There's no possible reason, my friends. I don't know. I just don't know. It can only be something deeply nefarious and of a very dark spiritual nature. I hate to say it even out in the open. That's the only thing it could be. It can't be anything medical or remotely logical. Guys, and it all begins with Israel. Whatever Israel notice, again, you could, I'm one of these people, I seek patterns. You can watch what they do in Israel, and then basically, I always tell my friends, look what they're doing in Israel, and then look forward about a month or two, what's going to be done in your country, to various degrees, depending on the, really depends on is whether you're or not you can, citizens can carry weapons or have weapons in their possession. So countries like Australia, you see, they can go full blast with whatever they want. They could just go full blast. They could do whatever they want, right? The government, I mean. New Zealand, same thing. Certain parts of Europe, same thing. Okay? America, they just can't do that. Depending on the state, they can't do that. I have friends who live in Manhattan. They can do certain things. Not they, but the government can do certain things to them. And then you go more inland, and no. Or you go to Florida, no. You go to Texas, no, right? But if you want to know what's going to be coming around the bend in your country, look at Israel 2 months ago. Or, you know what I'm saying? Look at Israel today, and then fast forward 2 months, and wherever it is that you live, and what the government's going to try. My friends, they're just emulating Israel. Why are they emulating Israel? Because according to the CEO of Schmeiser, Israel is the world's laboratory. He said that, not me. I'm just mimicking what he's saying. That's all I'm saying. Okay? So now, my friends, today they had the news release that apparently they're moving on to the fourth jabby. The fourth. My friends, 55% of Israelis didn't even take the third. All the people who took anything, 55% of them took two. Took two. So they didn't even take the third. And they're not going to. You know how I know, guys? Because I watched the Ministry of Silly Walks Facebook page of Israel Silly Walks, aka supposedly health, but not really. Ministry of Lies, and the guys, the comment section of that page is full of Israelis, regular Israelis, not anti-schmaxers, regular Israelis who took one, who took two, and who took three things in their body, and they're all saying the same thing. We don't trust you. Go away. You guys are giving us poison. You guys are giving us garbage. You're propagandizing at this point. You're flying in the face of science. You're cornered and you're afraid. My friends, this is what the people of Israel are saying to their own government. The people who took two, who even took three. Some of them are saying, listen, I'm in my 40s and 50s. These people are saying this. I decided to be a lab rat for my country. This is verbatim. But I'm not going to turn my children into lab rats. 5 to 11-year-olds, 5 to 12-year-olds. I'm not going to do that. You know how many mothers said that on the comment section? You know how many people said basically essentially the same thing? My friends, I'm telling you. Oh, you're saying it might get to 10. No, it has killed a total of 12 people around the world. 12. Hillary Clinton's count is about 40. But anyway, that's a whole different conversation. My friends, okay, so it's crazy. It's crazy what they're doing. And Israelis are not, the jig is up, my friends. Like I said before, and I always tell this to my friends, something very simple, right? We have circumstantial evidence about who started this, who released this, who gave us this, right? We have circumstantial evidence, but I'll tell you something. Again, I mentioned this before. If you guys know the story of Bernie Madoff, the story is very, very, very simple. A man by the name of Marco Polos came to the SEC in the year 2000. He came to them a few times, but he started in the year 2000 with certain claims and certain documents and certain, calculations, and they basically ignored him. They laughed him out of the building. And what did it take? What did it take to catalyze finally the authorities having no choice but to shine a light on this person, but to notice that the light is being shined on him? It took for a monumental market collapse, and then what happened was people started pulling out their investments, and when they're pulling out their investments, they realize that the jig is up. They realize that basically nothing's worth anything, right? So my friends, my question is this. What will be the catalyst for people here in this particular case, in this situation, to start pulling out their investments? For the people who took one, to not want to take two. For the people who took two, not want to take three. For the people who took three, not want to take four. My friends, if you're telling me that somebody who took the stuff is only safe around me if I take the stuff too, if they come to me and they say, well, I'm not safe because you didn't take it. I took it, but you didn't take it. So therefore, I'm not safe. We both have to take it in order for us to be safe. My friends, again, this is the definition. This is the textbook dictionary. This is the definition of a Ponzi scheme. This is what I just described to you. If you come up to me and you took this stuff into your body and you tell me to my face, I'm not tzvi, I'm not protected unless you take it too, you just told me that you're participating in a Ponzi scheme. That the only way that this is successful if both of us take it. If one of us pulls out, or if 10 of us are involved and 5 of us take it and 5 of us pull out or took it and pull out at some point, my friends, this is a Ponzi scheme. And at some point, Ponzi schemes collapse. And then what happens is the person selling you the scheme or selling you the product that's part of the scheme, you know what they have to do? They have to double down. They have to keep pushing and pushing aggressively. In this particular case, my friends, they're not just pushing aggressively, meaning they are the government, and they have to coerce and they have to use propaganda and totalitarian tactics in order to do so, to keep the Ponzi scheme going and alive, my friends, okay? Very, very simple. It doesn't take a math genius or like a medical expert to understand this. It does not take a person like that to understand this, my friends. I'm describing something very, very simple. If you can't understand it, you're either so flippant, hypnotized that it's impossible to talk to you, or you're just dumb as rocks, or both. I don't know. I because I've lost my patience with people about this issue who don't understand. If you don't understand, I don't understand what you don't understand. If you don't understand, I can't explain it to you. You either get it or you don't. So, my friends, at some point, Israelis already realize that the jig is up. Israelis are not stupid. These are people who some of them are very, very simple, pashut, not PhDs, not master's people. These are working people, in Israel. But guys, one thing I noticed, and this is something I was speaking about with Ephraim, people, unfortunately, most people, very, very intelligent people, you could ask the question, how can intelligent people go with this craziness? My friends, it's not about intelligence. It's about something called following your intuition, following your still small voice, following what your gut tells you. If you feel that something is wrong, you can't even put words to it, but you feel something is wrong, just follow that feeling. It's not like feelings, like empty, this like woke crap. No, this is something else. This is an intuition. This is an unquantifiable intuition that is, if you're tapped into it, if you tapped into yourself and you tap into Hashem, you can basically, essentially feel what the right thing to do. What is the right thing to do? Right? That's essentially what it is. So my friends, unfortunately, many people, even religious people, have basically taken their intuition and dumped it if they ever had any, or maybe they just don't have any. They don't know how to connect to it. They've outsourced their intuition. They've outsourced their brain to people when they think and they give credence to and they give clout and whatever it is. They've outsourced everything, my friends. It's a collective laziness coupled with lack of basically intuition and common sense. And my friends, one thing I notice is that these people that I'm talking about, the ones who realize that the jig is up with the Israeli government, have intuition, they have their common sense, and this is how they live, and this is how they survive with their instincts, right? And my friends, I got to tell you, by and large, these people are happier and they're more successful. What I mean by successful, they're not all bazillionaires, but they're just more fulfilled and more happier because they have an intuition, they have a common sense, they know what they're supposed to be doing, right? Instead of the people who are waiting for the government to tell them what to do, and how to think and what to be and this and that and the other, and only go with reputable this and reputable that, my friends. Sometimes it's just about looking at a situation, looking at a kind of image that you see before you, the grand kind of total picture of what everything that's going on, and saying to yourself, something about this doesn't feel right. It feels off. It feels fishy. The behavior of certain people that are trying to get me to do what they want me to do is fishy, is screwy. It's like behavior of con men. And every time you call it out, they always have an explanation. They always have an explanation and an explanation and an explanation. They explain away everything. There's explanation videos. There's a guy with a YouTube channel explaining everything. And in Russian we say оправдывается. There's always like some kind of a cop-out answer. My friends, just enough. Enough. The jig is up. The jig is up. The con has been exposed. The emperor has no clothes. With the Wizard of Oz, that we can see him now. He's not a wizard. He's a guy standing there, a little small guy. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Guys, there's a man behind the curtain. We get it. We get it. We understand. We're not stupid. Like, honestly. Like, my goodness. Anyway, guys, this all begins and ends with Israel. Israelis are going to get it. B'ezrat Hashem, and then everybody else is going to follow suit. And I hope no more people get hurt. I hope that Jews stop physically hurting Jews in Israel and also here. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should see the truth. The truth will set us free, and B'ezrat Hashem will have Mashiach. Yeah. Hope Mashiach comes and break this wrong up. Oh, everything's crazy. Yeah. Listen, my friends, the world is supposed to be unrecognizable from what we thought it was in order for Mashiach to come. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see it soon. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.